I'm Anita Perry, 32, the backbone of Perry Fashion's supply chain. At our year-end party in Scottsdale with 150 employees watching, my sister, the CEO, stepped to the microphone. Anita apologized to my boyfriend, our sales director, for criticizing his campaign, she demanded. His botched online sale had nearly cost us our biggest clients, and I'd called it out. I refused to grovel. Her eyes narrowed. "You're suspended until you do," she declared, her voice cutting through the crowd. My parents standing beside her smirked. "Know your place," they said in unison. The room erupted in laughter, her allies cheering her on. I felt my stomach twist, but I held my ground. Every eye was on me, waiting for tears or surrender. Instead, I locked eyes with her. "Juk Thoy," I said, my voice steady, and turned for the door. The crowd parted, whispers trailing me. I didn't look back. My sister thought she'd won, humiliating me in our family's empire. My parents thought I'd crawl back. They were wrong. I'd built the system that kept this company alive, and I wasn't done yet. Something was coming, something they'd never see. If you've ever been betrayed by your own blood, you know this sting. Share your story in the comments. Have you faced a family that turned on you? Hit that like button if you're with me. Stick around. This is just the start. 5 years ago, I poured my heart into building Perry Fashions from a single store. I'm Anita Perry, and at 27, I had a vision of family empire in Scottsdale's cutthroat retail scene. My sister Rosetta Perry, 4 years older, took the helm as CEO. She was fierce, her ambition a double-edged sword, slicing through obstacles but favoring those who flattered her. I designed our online ordering system, a lifeline that let us compete with national brands. It tracked inventory, streamlined shipping, and kept customers coming back. That system was my blood and sweat, coded through sleepless nights to make our name mean something. Rosetta saw the spotlight, not the work. She thrived on control, her decisions final, even when they leaned on my expertise. Our parents, Doris Perry and Paul Perry, held the purse strings. Mom and Dad cared about profits, not process, and they adored my sister's knack for closing deals. They'd nod at my reports, but save their praise for her presentations. I didn't mind at first. We were a team, or so I thought. Then her boyfriend, Jonah Boyd, walked in. She hired him as sales director, a role he wasn't ready for. He had charm, sure, but no grasp of retail logistics. His appointment wasn't about skill, it was about her heart. I leaned on my assistant Nellie Scott, who'd been with me since our first store. She was sharp, loyal, and caught details I missed. Nellie warned me early that Jonah's flashy ideas might outshine my steady systems. I brushed it off, trusting family ties. But cracks formed. Rosetta started bypassing me in meetings, her boyfriend pitching half-baked plans that ignored my data. Mom and Dad backed them, their eyes on quick wins. I felt trapped, my role shrinking in the empire I'd built. The deeper we grew, the more I sensed a shift. Rosetta's choices favored her inner circle, and Jonah's presence tilted the scales. He'd stroll into my office, tossing out suggestions that echoed my own, then claim them as his. I'd spent years perfecting our supply chain, but my voice was fading. Nellie saw it too, her quiet glances urging me to push back. I wasn't ready, not yet. I kept my head down, tweaking the system, ensuring orders flowed smoothly. But every ignored email, every sidelined idea tightened a knot in my chest. My sister wasn't just leading, she was reshaping our legacy to fit her vision. Jonah's influence grew, his confidence unchecked. He'd pitch bold campaigns promising growth while I scrambled to make them work. Rosetta aided up her trust in him, blinding her to his gaps. Mom and Dad, dazzled by his charisma, started questioning my methods. "Why can't you be more like him?" Dad once asked, his tone sharp. I swallowed my reply, but the sting lingered. Nellie caught me after, her voice low. "They're not seeing you, Anita. Don't let them forget." Her words stuck a spark in the fog. I began noticing patterns. My sister's decisions leaned on Jonah's input even when it risked our bottom line. She'd override my warnings about overstocking, trusting his gut over my numbers. Mom and Dad nodded along, their faith in her absolute. I wasn't invisible, but I was expendable. The system I'd built kept us afloat, yet my role felt ornamental. I'd walk through our flagship store racks brimming with designs we'd fought to launch and wonder if I'd become a ghost in my own dream. That tension simmered, my loyalty tested. I still believed in Perry Fashions and the family we'd promised to be. But Jonah's rise, Rosetta's bias, and my parents' dismissal chipped away at that faith. Nellie stayed my anchor, her support unwavering. She'd file my reports, double-check my work, and remind me I wasn't alone. Still, I felt the walls closing in. My sister's ambition and her boyfriend's opportunism weren't just hurdles. They were threats. I'd built this empire, but I was losing my place in it. When Rosetta handed Jonah my supply chain project, I felt a knot in my stomach. I'd spent years perfecting Perry Fashion's logistics, ensuring every dress reached customers on time. My sister, blind to my expertise, gave her boyfriend the reins. He wasn't qualified, but she didn't care. The project was my blueprint. Every route, every warehouse, every delivery schedule mapped to save millions. I'd shared it with her in confidence, expecting collaboration. Instead, she tossed it to him like a trophy. Jonas strutted into the boardroom for the quarterly review, presenting my plan as his own. "I've streamlined our supply chain," he declared, flashing a grin. "The slides bore my data, my calculations, even my phrasing." Rosetta beamed, clapping first. Mom and Dad followed, their applause deafening. "Brilliant work," Dad said, his eyes on Jonah. I sat frozen, my notes useless. My sister didn't glance my way. The board nodded, impressed, while I burned inside. He'd stolen my work, and they were eating it up. I couldn't stay silent. "Those are my strategies." I said, my voice steady but sharp. I designed every step. The room stilled. Jonah's smile faltered, but he recovered fast. Anita helped with some details. He lied, dismissing me. Rosetta cut in. "This isn't about credit, Anita, it's about results." Her tone was final, her loyalty clear. Mom leaned forward. "You need to cooperate, not compete," she scolded. Dad nodded. "Support the team." I opened my mouth, but their stares shut me down. My objection was buried, my role erased. After the meeting, I paced my office, replaying their words. Nellie slipped in, her face tense. "He's angling for more control," she whispered. I overheard him talking about leading all major projects. My assistant's warning hit hard. Jonah wasn't just taking credit, he was positioning himself to overshadow me completely. I'd built the system that kept us competitive, yet he was turning it into his stepping stone. Nellie's loyalty grounded me, but doubt crept in. Was Rosetta complicit? Or just naive? Her trust in him felt like a betrayal. I dug into Jonah's implementation, searching for flaws. His version of my plan was sloppy routes. Overlapped warehouses were understaffed, and delivery times lagged. I'd warned Rosetta about these risks, but she'd ignored me. Now customers were complaining and orders were delayed. I drafted a report highlighting every error and sent it to her. Her reply was curt. "Jonah's handling it." No discussion, no acknowledgement. Mom and Dad backed her as always. "Trust your sister's judgment," Mom said over dinner, her tone dismissive. Dad chimed in. "He's got vision, learn from him." Their words stung, their faith in me non-existent. Nellie kept me sane, pulling data to prove my point. "Your plan was perfect," she said, showing me the original. "He's cutting corners." Her evidence was undeniable, but Rosetta wouldn't listen. I confronted my sister in her office, laying out the delays and customer complaints. "These are Jonah's mistakes," I said, pointing to the numbers. She barely looked up. "Stop undermining him," she snapped. "We're a family business. Act like it." Her words weren't just a rebuke, they were a wall. She wasn't leading. She was protecting him. That night, I couldn't sleep. Jonah's ambition was clear now, his charm a mask for opportunism. He wasn't just taking credit, he was rewriting my place in Perry Fashions. Nellie's warning echoed he wanted control, and Rosetta was letting him. My sister's loyalty, once a given, felt shaky. Had she known he'd use my work? Was she choosing him over me? I'd trusted her to value our shared dream, but her actions said otherwise. Mom and Dad's blind support only deepened the cut. They saw her as the star, me as the backup. I started watching Jonah closer, tracking his moves. He'd pitch ideas in meetings, each one leaning on my systems, yet he never mentioned me. Rosetta ate up her praise, lavish. The board, swayed by her confidence, approved his proposals. My parents, dazzled by his promises, pushed me to step up like him. Step up, I'd built the foundation they stood on. Nellie caught me after one meeting, her voice low. "He's not stopping," she said. "You need to protect what's yours." Her words weren't just advice, they were a wake-up call. The realization hit hard. Jonah wasn't a colleague, he was a threat. His rise wasn't just about ego, it was about power. Rosetta's refusal to see it made her complicit. I'd poured my soul into Perry Fashions, but my sister's bias was dismantling my role. I wasn't just fighting for credit, I was fighting for my place. Doubt turned to clarity. I couldn't trust her anymore. Our family business was fracturing, and I was on the outside. Jonah's flashy online campaign was a disaster waiting to happen. He'd pitched it as Perry Fashion's ticket to dominate Scottsdale's retail market, promising record sales. My sister bought every word, greenlighting his plan despite my warnings. I'd crunched the numbers, his projections were reckless, ignoring warehouse limits and shipping constraints. Rosetta brushed me off, her trust in her boyfriend absolute. The campaign launched with fanfare, ads flooding every platform. Customers swarmed, orders piled up, and then the system buckled. Warehouses overflowed, shipments stalled, and complaints flooded my inbox. Jonah had underestimated demand, leaving us short on staff and space. Our biggest clients, chain stores that trusted our reliability, threatened to pull contracts. I was exhausted, running on coffee and adrenaline. Nellie, my assistant, stayed by my side, rerouting deliveries and soothing angry buyers. We worked round the clock, juggling spreadsheets and phone calls to keep the chaos from spiraling. My system, the one I'd built, was our only lifeline, its automation holding back total collapse. Rosetta didn't notice. She was too busy praising Jonah's vision in press releases. He took interviews, spinning the campaign as a bold success, oblivious to the mess I was cleaning. Nellie and I managed to stabilize the warehouses, rerouting stock to meet priority orders. We saved the key accounts, but the cost was brutal. Overtime pay skyrocketed, and smaller clients walked away. I sent my sister a detailed report outlining the fixes and losses. Her response was a single line: "Handle it, Anita." No gratitude, no acknowledgement. Mom and Dad were worse. Over a tense family dinner, they tore into me. "Why didn't you manage the inventory better?" Mom demanded, her fork jabbing the air. Dad piled on. "This is on you, Anita." Poor leadership. I stared, incredulous. I'd saved their precious company while Jonah's blunder nearly sank us. Nellie's quiet presence at the office kept me grounded, her updates sharp and precise. "We pulled it off," she said one night, handing me a revised shipping log, "but they're blind to it." Her words fueled my frustration. The breaking point came late one evening. I was updating the online ordering system, tweaking algorithms to prevent another overload. Buried in the code, I stumbled across a file I'd forgotten, a confidentiality agreement I'd embedded years ago. It was a safeguard designed when I'd built the system from scratch. The clause was clear: if I was wrongfully terminated, I could lock access to the platform, halting all operations. My heart raced. This wasn't just a technicality, it was power. I kept it to myself, the secret, a flicker of hope in the haze of exhaustion. Rosetta called a staff meeting the next day, her boyfriend at her side. They stood before the team, touting the campaign's record-breaking orders. Not a word about the near catastrophe or my fixes. I clenched my jaw, Nellie's glance urging me to stay calm. My sister's speech was all about Jonah's leadership, her pride in him palpable. Mom and Dad, seated in the front row, nodded approvingly. I felt invisible. My work erased again. When I raised the issue of client losses, Rosetta cut me off. Focus on solutions, not problems, she snapped. The room moved on my voice drowned out. Nellie pulled me aside after. They're rewriting the narrative, she said, her tone urgent. You saved us, but they're giving him the crown. Her words stung, but the contract's discovery burned brighter. I didn't tell her not yet. The clause was my leverage, a way to reclaim what was mine. I buried my excitement, focusing on the daily grind. Jonah's mistakes kept piling up, his next proposal already on Rosetta's desk. I warned her again, citing data on staffing shortages. She ignored me, her faith in him unshaken. Mom and Dad's criticism didn't let up. At the office, Dad cornered me. You're not pulling your weight, he said, his voice low. Jonah's carrying the team. I bit back a retort, the contract's existence a silent shield. Nellie noticed my shift, her eyes narrowing. You're planning something, she said, half questioning. I dodged her, not ready to share. The clause wasn't a plan, it was a possibility. I kept working, ensuring the system ran smoothly, my secret locked away. The campaign's fallout lingered. Smaller clients didn't return, and staff morale dipped. I fielded their complaints, promising better processes. Nellie and I streamlined operations, cutting losses where we could. Rosetta didn't care. She was planning the year-end party, Jonah's next big moment. My parents, dazzled by her confidence, pushed me to support the family. Support I'd carried them through the storm. The contract clause stayed in my mind, a quiet promise. I wasn't just saving Perry Fashions, I was preparing to protect myself. The year-end party's festive lights couldn't hide the tension in the air. Perry Fashion's Scottsdale ballroom buzzed with 150 employees, their chatter a thin mask for the undercurrent of unease. I stood near the bar, my stomach tight, sensing trouble. Rosetta, my sister, had been distant all week, her boyfriend Jonah glued to her side. The campaign's fallout lingered, warehouses barely recovered, clients still wary, yet they acted untouchable. Mom and Dad mingled, their smiles reserved for her, never me. Nellie, my assistant, caught my eye from across the room, her nod steadying me. Rosetta took the stage, her voice commanding. Tonight we celebrate our resilience. She began praising Jonah's bold leadership. The crowd clapped, but I felt the room spin. His campaign had nearly ruined us, and I'd saved the day. She didn't mention me. Instead, she turned her gaze, locking onto mine. Anita stepped forward, she said, her tone sharp. Whispers spread. I walked to the stage, every step heavy, knowing this wasn't praise. She didn't waste time. You criticized Jonah's campaign, undermining our team, she accused. Apologize to him publicly now. The room went silent. Jonah stood beside her, smirking, his confidence unshaken. I stared, incredulous. Apologize? I said, my voice clear. His miscalculations overloaded our warehouses, cost us clients, and nearly sank us. I fixed it. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rosetta's face reddened, her control slipping. You're out of line, she snapped. Say you're sorry or you're done. I held her stare, the weight of every betrayal, her bias, his theft, their dismissal crashing down. I won't, I said, unflinching. Her eyes blazed. You're suspended effective immediately, she declared, her words slicing through the room. Mom and Dad, standing nearby, laughed coldly. Know your place? They said in unison, their voices dripping with disdain. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others whispering. Jonah's smirk widened, my sister's chin lifted in triumph. I felt their scorn, but I wasn't broken. Juk thoy. I said, my voice steady, cutting through the noise. The phrase hung in the air, a promise they didn't understand. I turned, walking off the stage, the crowd parting as I moved. Their laughter followed, but I kept my head high. I'd built the system that kept Perry Fashions alive, and I held its key. The confidentiality agreement buried in my code was my leverage. Rosetta thought she'd won, but she'd just lit the fuse. Outside, the night air hit me sharp and cold. I pulled out my phone, texting Nellie, "Meet me tomorrow. We need to talk." Her reply was instant, "I'm with you." My assistant's loyalty was my anchor, her trust a lifeline. I didn't spell out the plan, not yet. The clause I'd found could lock the ordering system, halting operations if I was wrongfully terminated. It wasn't revenge. It was justice. Rosetta's power grabbed Jonah's opportunism, and my parents' betrayal had pushed me too far. The system would crumble without me, and they'd learn that soon. Back inside, the party roared on, oblivious to the storm brewing. I didn't look back. My sister's public humiliation was meant to break me, but it only sharpened my resolve. Mom and Dad's words, "Know your place," echoed, fueling my fire. They saw me as expendable, a cog in their empire. But I was the foundation, and I'd prove it. Nellie's role was crucial now. Her access to the system's backend made her my only ally. I trusted her to keep my secret, to help me prepare. The clause wasn't just a technicality, it was my way out. I'd embedded it years ago, a safeguard against betrayal. Now it was my weapon. Rosetta's snap decision to suspend me played right into it. Wrongful termination, she'd handed me the trigger. I wouldn't act rashly. I needed Nellie's help to ensure every step was clean. The system's collapse would hit hard: orders, frozen, clients, lost revenue, stalled. They'd beg me to fix it, but I'd be ready with terms. As I drove home, my mind raced. The party's laughter, Rosetta's fury, Jonah's smirk. They thought they'd crushed me. They were wrong. I'd spent years building Perry Fashions, pouring my soul into every line of code, every delivery route. They'd taken it for granted, erased my worth. Now I held the power to remind them. Nellie's message buzzed again. "Tomorrow, 8 a.m., usual spot." I smiled, the first spark of hope in weeks. The fight wasn't over, it was just beginning. Sunrise brought chaos to Perry Fashions as orders froze on every screen. The online system, the backbone of our Scottsdale retail empire, was dead. Warehouses stood silent, deliveries stalled, and customer complaints flooded the phones. Employees scrambled, their panic palpable in the open plan office. I wasn't there to witness it. I was at home, sipping coffee, my phone buzzing with Nellie's updates. My assistant had met me at dawn, her laptop open, confirming the confidentiality clause was active. The system was locked, just as I'd planned. Floyd Harris, our IT manager, was the first to sound the alarm. He burst into Rosetta's office, his voice shaking. "The platform's down, and I can't get in," he reported, sweat beading on his forehead. My sister, usually composed, paled. She turned to Jonah, her boyfriend, expecting answers. He fumbled, his charm useless against a technical blackout. "Try rebooting," he stammered, clueless. Floyd shook his head. "It's not a glitch, it's locked. Someone with admin access did this." Rosetta's eyes narrowed, but she didn't say my name, not yet. The office descended into disorder. Staff huddled around monitors, refreshing screens in vain. Orders piled up, millions in revenue at risk. Our biggest clients, already shaken by Jonah's failed campaign, threatened to walk. Doris and Paul. My parents stormed in their usual confidence, replaced by fury. "Fix this now," Mom shouted at Floyd, who threw up his hands. "I don't have the keys," he said, exasperated. Dad turned on Rosetta. "You're the CEO, do something," she snapped back, blaming Jonah's oversight. Their bickering echoed, a rare crack in their united front. Nellie texted me from a corner of the chaos. "They're losing it. No one suspects you yet." I smiled, my resolve steady. The clause I'd embedded years ago, a safeguard against betrayal, was working perfectly. It allowed me to lock the system if wrongfully terminated, a legal move airtight. I'd activated it after the party with Nellie's help to cover my tracks. My assistant's loyalty was unshakable, her technical skills ensuring no one traced the shutdown to us. Rosetta called an emergency meeting, her voice tight over the speakerphone. Jonah sat beside her, silent, his earlier bravado gone. Floyd reported no progress, his team locked out of every database. Mom and Dad, red-faced, demanded answers. "Who has admin access?" Dad barked. Floyd hesitated. Only Anita and her assistant, he said. The room stilled. Rosetta's jaw clenched, she knew. Jonah tried deflecting. Maybe it's a hacker, he suggested weakly. No one bought it. The truth was closing in. Beulah Carter, our company lawyer, was summoned. She arrived, her briefcase heavy with contracts. Rosetta thrust the system's documentation at her, demanding a workaround. Beulah skimmed the pages, her expression grim. There's a confidentiality clause, she said, her voice calm but firm. Anita embedded it when she built the platform. If wrongfully terminated, she can legally lock access. Suspension without cause qualifies. Rosetta stared, disbelief turning to rage. She planned this, she hissed. Beulah nodded. It's ironclad. She's within her rights. Panic turned to desperation. Rosetta grabbed her phone, dialing me. I let it ring, savoring the moment. When I answered, her tone was a mix of fury and pleading. Anita, unlock the system, she demanded. You're killing the company. I stayed calm, my voice even. I'll consider it, I said. Set up a board meeting. We'll discuss solutions. She sputtered, unaccustomed to bargaining. This is blackmail, she shouted. I didn't flinch. It's business, I replied, hanging up. Nellie's next text confirmed it, board meeting scheduled tomorrow. The office remained paralyzed. Customers raged online, their complaints trending. Suppliers, unpaid, halted shipments. Jonah, scrambling to save face, pitched temporary fixes, manual orders, paper logs. They failed spectacularly, the staff overwhelmed. Mom and Dad's blame game intensified. You trusted him. Mom accused Dad, pointing at Jonah. You pushed her out. Dad shot back, glaring at Rosetta. Their empire built on my system was crumbling, and they had no one to turn to but me. Nellie kept me updated, her messages a lifeline. They're begging staff to stay calm, but it's chaos. I trusted her to stay discreet. Her role in the shutdown our secret. Beulah's confirmation of the clause's legality was my shield. No one could touch me. Rosetta's call had been her first surrender, but I wasn't done. The board meeting would be my stage, a chance to reclaim what was mine. I'd built Perry Fashion's foundation, and they'd learn its true cost. As night fell, the crisis deepened. Social media buzzed with customer fury, the company's stock plummeting. Rosetta, Jonah, and my parents were trapped, their confidence shattered. I sat at my desk reviewing the clause's details, preparing my terms. Nellie's final message came through. They're scared, Anita. You've got them. I nodded, my path clear. The boardroom would decide everything, and I held the key. I stepped into the boardroom with a calm I hadn't felt in years. The air was thick, the long mahogany table surrounded by tense faces. Rosetta, my sister, sat at the head, her eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. Jonah, her boyfriend, slumped beside her, his usual swagger gone. Mom and Dad, their confidence shattered, avoided my gaze. Emmett Walsh and Aidan Nguyen, board members who'd quietly backed me, nodded subtly as I entered. Nellie stood by the door, my assistant's presence a silent anchor. The system's lockdown had brought Perry Fashions to its knees, and I held the key. Rosetta spoke first, her voice strained. Unlock the system, Anita, she demanded, clutching a stack of complaints from clients. You've made your point. I leaned back, my expression steady. My point, I said, is that I built this company's foundation and you threw me out. Her jaw tightened, but she had no reply. Jonah shifted, muttering, This is sabotage. I ignored him, turning to the board. I have terms, I said, my voice cutting through their silence. Emmett, a sharp-eyed veteran of retail, leaned forward. Let's hear them, he said, his tone neutral but curious. Ada, a financial strategist, nodded, her pen poised over a notepad. They'd grown frustrated with Rosetta's favoritism and Jonah's failures, whispering their support to Nellie weeks ago. I laid out my demands. First, Jonah's out, fired effective immediately. His incompetence cost us millions. The room froze. Jonah's face reddened. You can't do that, he sputtered. Emmett raised a hand. The board can, he said, his eyes on Rosetta. My sister's hands shook. He's an asset, she insisted, but her voice wavered. I pressed on. Second, Rosetta steps down as CEO. She becomes an advisor. No voting power. No control. Gasps echoed. Mom stood, her voice shrill. You're destroying this family, Dad joined her. This is our legacy. I met their stares. You chose her over me, I said. You erased my work. Now I'm saving what I built. Ada scribbled notes, her expression unreadable but attentive. Jonah tried to interrupt, his voice desperate. I brought innovation, I cut him off, sliding a folder across the table. Your campaign lost us key clients, I said, pointing to Nellie's compiled data charts of losses, client cancellations, staff overtime. You stole my plans, botched the execution, and took the credit. Emmett skimmed the folder, his brow furrowing. Ada's pen stopped. Rosetta's face crumpled, her defense of Jonah collapsing under the weight of evidence. Beulah Carter, our lawyer, entered with the confidentiality clause in hand. Anita's lockout is legal. She confirmed, her tone matter of fact. Wrongful suspension triggered it. The board can reinstate her or face ongoing losses. Rosetta's eyes darted to Mom and Dad, seeking support, but they were silent, their earlier bravado gone. Emmett spoke, his voice firm. We've reviewed the financials. The company's bleeding. Anita's system is irreplaceable. Ada nodded. Her terms are reasonable given the mismanagement. The vote was swift. Emmett and Ada raised their hands for my demands, outnumbering Rosetta's allies. Jonah was fired, his termination letter handed over by Beulah. He stood, his face a mix of rage and humiliation, and stormed out the door, slamming behind him. Rosetta sank into her chair, tears streaming. Her reign over Perry Fashions ended. You've ruined everything, she whispered, but I felt no pity. She'd chosen him over me, over the company I'd built. Mom and Dad sat powerless, their legacy slipping away. How could you? Mom choked, but I didn't waver. You told me to know my place, I said, my voice steady. This is it. Dad looked away, his silence an admission of defeat. The board moved to my final demand: control of Perry Fashions. Emmett proposed a new management team with me overseeing the transition. You've proven your value, he said. Ada agreed. The company needs stability. I accepted, but with a condition: I'd step back once the team was in place. The system was unlocked within hours, orders flowing again. I appointed Nellie to lead the interim tech team, her loyalty rewarded. The board approved a new CEO, a seasoned outsider untainted by family drama. Rosetta, now an advisor, left the room without a word, her spirit broken. Mom and Dad followed, their influence gone. The company I'd poured my soul into was safe, but it no longer felt like home. As I walked through the office, employees whispered, some nodding in respect, others wary. Nellie caught up, her eyes bright. You did it, she said, her voice low. I smiled faintly. We did it, I corrected. The victory was mine, but it was hollow. I'd reclaim my worth, but the cost was my family. I prepared to leave my role in Perry Fashions complete. The future was mine to shape, free from their shadow. Walking away from my family was the hardest choice I ever made. After the boardroom showdown, I cut all ties with Rosetta, Mom and Dad. No calls, no apologies, no reconciliation. Their betrayal, years of dismissing my worth, favoring my sister's boyfriend, erasing my contributions, left scars too deep to heal. I left Perry Fashions behind, its new management thriving without their interference. My future lay elsewhere, and I was ready to build it. I partnered with Malcolm Reed, a seasoned entrepreneur I'd met through industry contacts. His sharp mind and deep pockets complemented my vision. Together we launched LuxThread, a high-end fashion brand targeting Scottsdale's elite. In 3 months, we secured a sleek office, hired a lean team, and debuted our first collection. Our designs, bold, sustainable, exclusive, drew buzz-pulling clients from Perry Fashion's shrinking base. Malcolm handled investors while I led operations, my system-building skills sharper than ever. LuxThread wasn't just a company, it was my redemption. Healing took time. The weight of my family's rejection lingered, but I found solace in Virgil Cox, a close friend whose steady presence grounded me. His quiet humor and late-night talks helped me rediscover joy. We explored Scottsdale's desert trails, our conversations weaving dreams of a life unbound by past pain. Virgil never pushed, but his belief in me sparked something new. Happiness, fragile, but real. I wasn't just surviving. I was rebuilding myself piece by piece. Rosetta's fall was stark. As Perry Fashion's advisor, she wielded no power her voice ignored in meetings. Colleagues once deferential now sidestepped her, their whispers cold. Her loyalty to Jonah had cost her credibility, and the industry took note. She faded into irrelevance, a shadow of the CEO she'd been. Jonah fared worse. His reputation built on stolen ideas and botched campaigns crumbled. No firm in Scottsdale would touch him, his applications met with silence. He drifted, a cautionary tale of ambition without substance. Mom and Dad retreated into isolation. Their empire, once a family legacy, now ran without them. I heard through Nellie, my former assistant, that they lived quietly, their days marked by regret. They sent letters pleading for forgiveness, but I left them unopened. Their words, "Know your place," still stung, a reminder of their choice to side against me. They'd lost their daughter, and no apology could undo that. LuxThread grew its success, a testament to my resilience. Our second collection sold out, and national retailers took notice. Malcolm and I planned expansion, eyeing markets beyond Arizona. Nellie joined us, her tech expertise shaping our online platform. She thrived free from Perry Fashion's chaos. Virgil, ever supportive, celebrated each milestone, his pride in me unwavering. I stood taller, my confidence no longer tied to my family's approval. Looking back, I saw the cost of their betrayal and the strength it forged in me. I'd built Perry Fashions only to watch it twisted by their greed. Leaving wasn't just escape, it was liberation. I learned to trust my worth, to stand firm against those who'd diminish me. The industry respected me now, not as a Perry, but as Anita, the woman who'd turned pain into power. My story carries a truth I want to share. Independence is hard-won, but it's everything. Don't compromise for those who betray you, family or not. Believe in your value even when others don't. I walked away from a legacy to build my own, and I'd do it again. The scars remain, but they remind me who I am, a woman who chose herself and never looked back.